Welcome to the Actually I Can Female Entrepreneur podcast. I am your host, Kaylee Greenacre, a business strategist, coach, TEDx speaker, author, and your go-to woman for all things business strategy. I am obsessed with supporting female entrepreneurs to grow unstoppable six and multi-six-figure businesses that they love, giving them the freedom and life that they desire. During this podcast, I'll be sharing with you everything that you need to become a successful female entrepreneur, from the mindset shifts to sales and marketing strategies, and how to become an iconic leader that people can't get enough of. It is my mission to help you stand out, attract your dream clients and customers, and sell out of your offers with ease whilst building the business and life of your dreams. Let's make this your reality, ladies. Hello, ladies, and welcome to another episode of Actually I Can, the Female Entrepreneur Podcast. And I'm joined today by the fabulous Alison Dee, who is the Dee-Lightful Living Coach. And in this episode, we are going to be diving into why success isn't linear and building your safety net in business. Alison, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here on the podcast.
Hello. It's a pleasure to be here. So thank you very much for having me.
I'm really excited to dive into this topic around success not being linear and really leaning into your expertise and advice that you want to give our listeners today. But before we do that, it's always really important to find out and share a little bit more about your own story and journey. So do you want to give our listeners a little bit more about kind of how you got to where you are today?
Of course, I would love to. So I'm very passionate about talking about how success isn't linear because my journey has been all over the place. 2019, I qualified as a biomedical scientist, and then I was getting blocked by lab politics from going any further. And I hadn't come that far to only come that far. So I was like, what else can I do to keep developing my mind, my study skills? And I fell into doing a diploma in mindfulness, which then got upsold to a diploma in mindfulness and life coaching. And I really got the bug. And then obviously 2020, the pandemic hit, and I set up my group, which is now the Positive Mindset Tribe. And it became a really lovely community where people kind of really relied on it for that support and helping them cope. Then things got a bit iffy in the lab. I was getting bullied and harassed by my line manager. And I decided to take that advice, leap and the universe will catch you, which I don't like that advice now. And I am a practical manifestation mentor. So I completely buy into the whole manifestation thing. But if you don't really know what you're doing and you're on a wing and a prayer, it's going to be a disaster, as it was for me. So after 2 years of basically living on my nerves and not knowing where I was going and becoming more and more unaligned with my business because I was making decisions completely from panic, I went back into a day job. And it was really hard to swallow my pride to do that. But my nervous system could not take any more. Like, I was lying awake at night, worrying about money. I do have chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia, so that extra worry was not helping at all. But after 17 months back in a day job, that gave me a chance to realign with my business and my purpose and my passion, get a proper strategy behind me. And now I am, 10 months out of the day job, and I am earning more than I ever have in my life. So it's been a very twisty, turny, all over the place journey, but it's feeling so worth it now I'm here.
Yeah, what an incredible journey as well. And thank you so much for sharing. And I know there is, a lot of things that we could dive into in terms of the different obstacles and hurdles you've overcome and ultimately what you've done. And I'm sure a lot of your advice through your own experiences will come out in some of the questions in the conversation that we have today. But I think it's incredible what you have achieved and, where you are now. You seem so happy and aligned with everything that you're now doing. And you've got such a clear plan visually, as well as obviously as an action plan as well, for where this is going, which really excites me to see. I love seeing this for you.
Yeah, it's just, a couple of months ago, I was like, everything in my business right now didn't exist a year ago.
Mm.
Like everything that I'm doing right now, my memberships, my programs that I'm working on, all the inspiration just started hitting in July 2024. And I was like, oh my God, yes, like that's what I want to do. And it was incredible to feel that way when the year before I couldn't even record one 20-minute training each month for the life coaching membership that I did have in place at that time. Like I was so uninspired, and now I can't keep up with the inspiration. And that just, I think, really shows the difference when you're in alignment with what you're doing.
100%. And it goes to show, doesn't it, that your entire business and life can look so different in a short space of time, because a year isn't actually a long amount of time at all when it comes to building a business, is it? It's a segment of time, and actually a lot can happen in that short amount of time, which again, you've just give evidence that it has. I love all of this. So let's dive into this concept of success not being linear. You've given us a little bit of your backstory, and I really want to kind of focus on building your safety net in business, and really understanding or giving our listeners the opportunity to see what is possible for them, and actually how strategically to support them with moving to, towards the goals that they want to achieve. So let's start off first of all by one of the things that I love the most talking about is strategy and plans, and why it's crucial. In your opinion, based on your own experiences, before we dive into the nervous system and all of the incredible work that you do, but when we're talking about strategy and action planning, why is it so crucial as an entrepreneur? And what are the risks that people are making if they're not actually necessarily taking that step or making sure that they're fully planned?
So one of the biggest things for me is I'm awaiting diagnosis. I believe I'm AUDHD, and I have terrible money blindness. So which is very much a thing. It's a less known thing of ADHD. People know about the time blindness, but not about the money blindness thing. And the first time I left the day job and the security of having that monthly income, I didn't have a plan for how I was going to keep going, pay my bills. And that was the one thing I had that I said was my absolute baseline when I went back into a day job. If I was going to consider leaving again, I needed to make sure I had regular recurring income coming in. And I don't feel like enough people talk about like that. They say about, oh, you only need however many high ticket clients to be able to leave your day job. But what happens when that money runs out? Because if you crash after leaving the day job, which I thought I would and I was prepared for, I crashed for 6 months after leaving the day job.
Yeah.
And I was not prepared to crash for that long at all. If you don't have a safety net, and you've got to keep showing up all the time and pushing through when your energy is just not supporting that, that's when you start to get into kind of that danger zone where you're then making decisions from panic and throwing yourself out of alignment. But I had the recurring income coming in through memberships. And if I hear so many people go, oh, memberships are such hard work. And I'm like, no, they're not. If you've got a proper strategy and you know how you're running it and you have the touch points with your clients, like I have a really high retention rate in my memberships. Like my retention rate is around 90%. And I make sure I cater to different learning styles. So I will do worksheets, I will do training videos. I then have the connection points like through Zooms, through the Facebook group. So it meets people where they're at. And my memberships do not take me a lot of work each month. Like we're talking a few hours each month. And that then gave me the safety net because that was a stable income. And I wasn't thinking, oh my God, payment plans are going to be coming to an end soon for courses and things. No, the income is very stable if you do the onboarding properly.
Amazing. So ultimately what you're saying is having a very strategic plan or clear plan into the future for long-term success
Hmm.
and growth, not just looking at, well, if I sign another 2 clients this month, I'm okay for the next couple of months because of the payment plans. Because you're absolutely right. I think as entrepreneurs, we are sometimes misled down a path in the online space of the short-term wins and goals. Which they are true, they are real, you can get that, but then we're not actually long-term planning. And I think it is something that absolutely every single entrepreneur needs to think about. And something that I always visually, personally myself, I have 12 months ahead and then 24 months ahead, knowing exactly what I've got coming into my business every single month for that first year and then that second year. And then obviously what you need to fill and how you're going to achieve the targets, the goals that you set yourself. So, there's lots to this, but it's definitely really, really important. So let's dive into the nervous system, because I know this is something that is very exciting and you specialize in all of this work and manifestation and so much around energy and who we are as individuals and how this can actually support us. So let's start with the nervous system.
Hmm.
This plays a huge role for every single individual. But as an entrepreneur, how can really tuning into our nervous system support us with making better decisions?
One of the most toxic things I hear is just push through, feel the fear and do it anyway. And now I know what I know. I've completed 3 trauma informed certifications, 2 of which are accredited by regulatory bodies. And I am really studying so much more, all the different nuances of it, and how it all works without going too technical now. Um, and I've always hated that advice, but never known why. And the thing is, if your nervous system doesn't feel safe, it will set off your emotional brain, also known as the chimp brain. And when your chimp brain doesn't feel safe, it will hijack you. That's why you are sat there trying to go live on Facebook and you're just frozen and you're like, oh my God, I don't know why I can't push through this. It's because your nervous system has hijacked you and it doesn't feel safe. So, if you can regulate your nervous system, I guarantee if you have a block you cannot just push through right now in business, it's because somewhere your nervous system doesn't feel safe. And if you can regulate your nervous system and get to a point of safety, you can get through those blocks. But you're not then tearing your nervous system to shreds to get through them, which then leaves you feeling drained, exhausted, questioning your choices, thinking, oh my God, I can't do this. And
Yeah.
it all comes back to that, it's a system from caveman days to keep us physically safe when a predator or danger was in our path. And although we don't have that anymore, it's still the same mechanism that is firing. So if you can soothe that and keep that safe, you will um you will clear your blocks so much easier. And I'm living proof of that this year because I have gone from, I mean, you've seen it, Kaylee, I've gone from level to level to level. I can't even believe where I am right now compared to a year ago. And it's because I've been doing all the nervous system work. I work daily on soothing my nervous system. I uncovered a substantial amount of childhood trauma a few months ago that I had blocked. That was causing me a lot of problems. So I've been working on releasing that, tapping, breathing. It's all really simple exercises that we can do anywhere, that we all have the capacity to do, but it's having the awareness to do them and knowing what they're doing within your body.
Amazing. So, for potentially listeners that don't know an awful lot about nervous system, or they want to learn more and they want to lean into this a little bit, for our listeners, do you have an example of a nervous system based practice or exercise that has really, really helped support you that could potentially help our listeners as well?
Absolutely. Breathing exercise, a really simple breathing exercise that you can do anywhere. And that is to breathe in for the count of 4 through your nose. Okay, it's important you breathe in through your nose, because that's actually how we were made, to breathe in through our nose, not our mouth. And so many people are doing mouth breathing when they're getting stressed. And that's when our fight or flight system is activated. So if you're breathing in through your nose, it's signaling calm to your body. So breathe in for 4, but then breathe out for 6. Now you can breathe out through your mouth or through your nose. Okay. The longer out breath does is it stimulates what's called your vagus nerve, and your vagus nerve then puts your relaxation system, your parasympathetic nervous system, online, and takes offline your fight or flight, your sympathetic nervous system. They can't be both running at the same time. It's either or. So if you are feeling activated, if you are feeling stressed, if you are feeling stuck, overwhelmed, like you just can't push through, breathe in for 4 and out for 6. Breathe in for 4 and out for 6. And just keep doing that for a couple of minutes. Like, relax your shoulders, give them, do some shoulder rolls and a little bit of a wiggle. And after a couple of minutes, you will feel regulated, you will feel calm, and you will feel like you can make a decision from a place of groundedness, not panic.
Oh, amazing. What a great exercise to do. And I can see the simplicity of it as well. And is there a certain environment that they have to be in to really allow this to work? Or is it quite simply, if you are feeling that anxiety or overwhelm, literally wherever you are, do this exercise?
You can do it wherever you are, but if you can take yourself off somewhere where you're on your own, so you can just focus on yourself and you're not feeling self-conscious around people, like people around you that might be looking and kind of going, what are you doing? Another really great exercise is tapping, EFT, which I'm not going to get into now. But when I first came across that, I was going through a very stressful time in the lab, and I would literally take myself across, out to a corner of the lab and sit doing the tapping, like on all the pressure points and on my face. I was like, I know it looks bonkers, just leave me to it. So yeah, if you can take yourself off somewhere quiet where you're not going to be disturbed, that will be much more helpful. But it can be done anywhere in the moment. I've done this, sitting on a plane, in like a busy, in trying to get my words out, in a queue in the supermarket, because I really struggle with being around crowds like that and feeling a bit trapped. So I will just do this exercise to regulate myself and remind myself that I am safe.
Amazing. And in your own experience, especially since you've become an entrepreneur, has there been times where, I mean, obviously there's been times where this has been very, very helpful and supportive. Has there been sort of a key time or moment that you might be able to share with our listeners that this really did support you and help you to overcome that anxiety, that fear, that overwhelm, stress, whatever you're experiencing at that particular time?
One way I find this really helpful is when my thoughts are running away with me at night and I'm trying to sleep. And because then when you're focusing on the counting as well, you're giving your brain another focus so it can't run away with all those thoughts. And putting your relaxation back in control means then you've taken the fight or flight offline. So, that's not trying to stop you sleeping. So that's actually been one of the most powerful things for me.
Oh, amazing. Do you know what? That's something I might try. I'm definitely one of those people that when you can't sleep, my mind goes a million miles an hour. And then all of a sudden I get my phone out and get the notes open and go, got to do that tomorrow. I need to make sure that's in Sophia's bag for school. I need to do X, Y, and Z. And, about an hour later, and I'm like, my brain is wired. So that's really interesting because although it's not anxiety or overwhelm that I'm experiencing at that point, but it is just my brain is just so wired and, kind of, I don't even know the word to describe it, but I'm going to try this. I think this is great. Great advice to use.
Yes, I can't wait to hear how you get on with it.
Amazing, amazing. I love this. And I know we could talk about the nervous system and nervous system regulation and so many things in a lot more depth. And I know if any of our listeners are very, very keen on this topic, please do reach out to Alison because she's an absolute pro. She knows what she's doing and she will be able to support you. But I want to come back to this concept of success not being linear, because I think this is a really, really good topic to talk about and something that actually we can dive a little bit deeper into. So, in terms of the work that you do, is there anything that you do to support your clients or female entrepreneurs who experience real challenges or setbacks that you can support them with without losing their confidence in their actual vision that they're going towards? Because I think it is, people can experience some really hard, challenging times, can't they, on this journey? And like you said, with your own journey, it wasn't linear. So what kind of advice can you give our listeners based on this and based on the work that you've supported your own clients with?
I mean, my background, I've gone into the business strategy this year and I certified as a business strategist because it is just so cliche, the life coach into business side of things. But I really focus on the mindset, the NLP side of things, and the feeling safe. And then we go into the business strategy. And I have found my clients are having such success because they're not just trying to push through and do the thing. They're looking at why are they doing the thing? Because sometimes it could be your nervous system blocking you, but it could also be that it's not aligned to you. Like, people don't want to do reels. Okay, don't do reels. Like, that's, if that's not something you're comfortable doing, if that's not something you're good at doing, there are so many other ways to connect with clients, to build a business. You don't have to follow what everyone else is doing. And I think that's such a key thing, is if it's not feeling aligned and you're feeling blocked, well, what would feel good? you know, and what would feel good doesn't always necessarily make sense.
Yeah.
But, like, as an example, you invited me to come down for that day last year, around other entrepreneurs. And I was like, I have to do this. I have to do this. It didn't necessarily make sense at the time that it was going to, do anything for my business right at that moment in time. But what it did was get me in a room of like-minded ladies. And I was like, I need more of this in my life. I need more opportunities like this. And then the following week, somebody came up with a free ticket for an event. And even though I knew nobody at the event before, I hadn't heard of this event, but it seemed like too good an opportunity to pass up. And I met some incredible women there. And that sparked another feeling in me and an extra level of confidence. And that then just set off a whole cascade of things. So going to a business event might not necessarily seem like it's going to do an awful lot, but it just felt so aligned to go and do that. And that then sparked off this whole cascade that, this time last year, I didn't think I had a hope of getting out of the day job anytime soon. And by the end of October, so less than 2 months later, I was handing in my notice because everything just shifted that quickly. And it's because I followed what felt right. I followed what felt good, even though it's like, oh no, I should be at home and doing my social media and doing all the things on paper that you're supposed to be doing. But I followed what felt good and I took myself out of my comfort zone, and it created this whole new life, basically.
It's incredible. It really is. And I think it's such a good example as well of, if an opportunity is presented to you, regardless of whether you see, an immediate return on whatever that is or benefit, I think it's always important to take that opportunity because, like you said, you never know what can happen or what can come from that particular thing. So like you said, getting in the room with other people, going to certain events, being invited onto podcasts, doing different things, you never know how that can support you and help you. And I think people have got to be open-minded. I think you're right with, there's no rule book to this, that, we can chuck that rule book out the window. There is no such thing when it comes to being an entrepreneur. And because our industry and the climate is changing all of the time, we have to be prepared to adapt. Like, how much impact has AI done or created over the last 12 months alone? It's madness, isn't it? So I think we have to be really, really adaptable, but also be willing, be prepared to take opportunities, to take risks, to actually do the things that, sometimes you think, do you know what? I don't know what I'm going to get for this, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Exactly. And like you say, with throwing the rule book out the window, so many people will say online, oh, don't give too much away. And it's like, if in a DM conversation, somebody gets everything from me, that's a pretty poor show with all the study and certifications I've got and learning I've done. Like, somebody is not going to get everything from me in a DM conversation. But if it builds the trust for them to go, you know what, I think you can really help me, then it's worth it. And that's one thing I did to throw the rule book out last year, is because I was really filtering myself online. Oh no, am I giving too much away? I shouldn't be doing that. And then I realized one of my business values was being people focused. And I went, well, filtering and holding back doesn't align with that. And it was the following month after I threw that out that I had my first 4.8k sales month. I was so close to the 5k sales. And it just shows, when you throw the rule book out and you do what's really aligned, even if other people are saying it doesn't necessarily make sense, if it makes sense to you, go for it and do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with that, because there are, everyone's got their own opinion, everyone's got their own perspective, and everyone will be teaching differently. And I think, as an entrepreneur, if you're listening to this podcast right now and you are questioning if you're doing the right things, and you've had some good months and bad months, some ups and downs, first of all, I just want to say that's completely normal. Like, that is very normal. And also, it's not a bad thing. It actually will give you the opportunity to learn and to test and to see what works, what doesn't work. And from everything you're saying, Alison, today is, if it feels aligned, move, do the thing, take action.
Yes. And, just you saying about the up and down months as well, I want to bring that back to the nervous system, because if you are somebody who has a money story of lack, if you've grown up where you heard money doesn't grow on trees and we can't afford that and everything like that, having money in your account will send your nervous system into a spiral, and it won't feel safe. So, and this is a pattern I've been really fighting against this year, because as money comes in, it's going out again, because I have just never been used to having a buffer and having a cushion there in my account. And I had some money in my account and I literally froze. I was like, I don't know what to do next, because I'm not used to being in this place. So you will have those ups and downs, partly because your nervous system will go, oh my God, it will freak out. It will go, this isn't safe. We're not used to this at all. And it sounds bonkers. And that's the side of success that people don't talk about. But if you don't feel safe to have money there, then you will struggle to hold on to it until you heal that part of your nervous system. So if you're having those peaks and troughs, that's another reason why it's totally normal as well, because you will have a really good month and you will freak out a little bit and go, oh no, we're not comfortable with this. You go back down again and then you go, right, okay, we're back in the comfort zone, we can push forward again. And that's another reason why you go up and down like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've talked a little bit about kind of feeling safe in a safety net. And I want to dive into this a little bit more, especially for our listeners. What do we mean by creating a safety net? What actually is that as a female entrepreneur?
It's finding the safety that works for you. For so many of us, we have been conditioned to be employees. We are used to having that monthly salary every month dropped into our account. We know what's coming in. And even if it's not as much as we like, it's safe, it's secure, we know what's happening. as an entrepreneur, you don't get that one lump payment. You get dribs and drabs coming in all throughout the month. And that's something that, sent my nervous system spiraling, is just seeing the odd, especially with membership subscriptions, like just seeing the odd £10, £15. It's like, that's not enough. So it's tapping into, what does safety mean for you? What would make you feel safe and secure? What would make you feel good? Because if you are not feeling safe, that is the most basic need on Maslow's hierarchy, if you know about that, and you are going to struggle to climb up the hierarchy. So for some people, it's making sure their mortgage is paid off. For other people, it's making sure their bills are covered every month. And it will be different for everyone. So really look into, if I was full-time in my business right now, what would make me feel like I was taken care of?
Yeah, absolutely. So really thinking to themselves, what does that actually look like? I think you're right as well, because everyone is different and safety does look different to other people and individuals. And we've got to really lean into that. And is there something, so say for example, let's use this as an example. So in terms of my safety net might be, okay, I just need to make sure I can pay my mortgage and bills. Okay. Because I'm sure, or rent and bills, depending on, the person. And I'm sure that's something that a lot of people feel. So what do they need to do so that they don't overwhelm themselves, so they don't get anxious about it or worry and avoid all of the stress? Is, again, linking back to the nervous system, or any practical exercises or anything that they can do. Is there anything that you can advise our listeners to do if they're starting to panic, thinking, oh my goodness, I'm not going to have enough money in the account by the end of the month to pay the bills and the mortgage, etc.?
Focus on the action, not the outcome.
Nice.
Because if you look too far ahead, the outcome is not necessarily in your control. Whereas if you're just focusing on the next step, you're focusing on the action you can take, then that again puts your logical human brain back in control. It takes control back from your emotional chimp brain. And by taking action, action neutralizes fear. So action puts you back in control. So whenever any of my clients are saying, but I'm feeling really scared about doing this, and I'm feeling really scared about what this will lead to. One of my clients said, I'm really scared about putting my freebie out there because it feels like a massive up level. And she said, so I'm blocking myself from even doing the funnel. I said, so just work on doing the first email for your funnel, and then work on doing the second email for your funnel, and just work on what the action steps are. And then before you know it, you'll have everything ready to put your freebie out there. But right now, she was focusing so much on putting her freebie out there that she was putting herself into freeze state, because she was putting herself into inaction. Because, I mean, what got me out of the day job was I had a little rant on Facebook that networking events weren't being very inclusive for entrepreneurs still in the 9 to 5. They're being inclusive for moms and so many other groups. But what about entrepreneurs in the 9 to 5 who need evening meetings? And everyone went, well, you set one up then. And I went, okay. So literally the next night, just a basic link on MemberVault for people to sign up. And in a week, I got 41 founding members and went, oh my God, this is my ticket out the day job. And then I remember sitting there on the first Zoom with everyone and all these people popping up, so many people who I didn't know. And that was unusual for me, because before then, everybody who had come into my world had been somebody I'd known in some capacity, but people were sharing for me in their groups and everything. Like, we made so much noise about it. And all these people, and I was like, oh my God. And I just thought, if I'd stopped to think about this moment, I would have blocked myself. I would have stopped it from happening, because it was so far out of my comfort zone. It was unbelievable. Now, 10 months on, so many of those ladies have become really good friends. They're in my other programs. But if I'd have focused on the outcome of that, I wouldn't have taken the action. I just took the action and I didn't think about where it would lead. And that's then what got me to success.
Yeah, it's incredible. That is such an incredible story of how you got out of the day job. I love it. Such a great example. So again, if you've got an idea, well, I think that also links to as well. listening to your audience and being in tune with actually your community. And I know we're not here to talk about community as such, Alison, but I know you are one of the best I know for creating a really engaged, high vibing community. Can we share a little bit about it? Because I think it does link with, actions and listening. I just said sort of listening to community. What do they want? What do they actually need? Because you took that action based on what they asked for. Basically, you put an idea out there, they basically said yes, set one up, so you did, and you took the action, you didn't overthink it, and here you are today, 12 months on, etc. Tell us a little bit about your community and how successful that's been, because I think this can really help people as well.
I I think that's the thing. Like, one of my catchphrases I've been saying so often lately is, everybody you come across is a connection.
Yes.
Not everybody is a lead, because you never know where something might lead. Like, we've known each other a good few years. Um, and now I'm in your programs, I'm here on your podcast. Like, there's so many exciting things happening. But if I'd just gone, oh, I'm never going to be able to sell to her, and ditched you, who knows where this might have led. I've been, I'm an Amazon best-selling author 2 times over in book collaborations. Again, people who were not people I could sell to, but I always just make connections, listen to people. I'm fascinated by hearing people's stories and their backgrounds. And I think when you really flip the perspective like that, and you just listen to people, you're just interested in people, and then if it works for them and they want to come and work with you, absolutely amazing. But not everybody is going to be in that position because of time, money, circumstance. So I like, my free groups are a passion project to give back to the community who are not in a position. And I think that's why my groups do so well, because they're not just there as part of my funnel. They are actually there to be a community. And people always say how safe my communities feel, because I will not tolerate any bad behavior at all. I will not tolerate any snarkiness, sarcasm, bringing anybody down or anything. Like, I am in my communities all the time. And I recently left community, and I said to the owner, I feel like there's an undertone of misogyny coming through, because I'm getting challenged by men every time I post anything, and they're always trying to take me down a peg or two. And he said, oh, I don't really see what you mean. And I said, I'm not feeling comfortable. So I've left, I've given that feedback. And
Yeah.
I can really see how this behavior can start to escalate if you don't check it right at the beginning. And that's what I've always done in my communities. Like, I can struggle with my boundaries in some places, but in my communities, I will not tolerate a single bad word. And I think that's why everybody always says my communities are so safe. And I will, and now my communities, like, they emulate that behavior as well.
I think that's incredible. It's incredible what you have set up and created such a fabulous environment for people to feel safe. Again, it comes back to all of this. And if they're experiencing, you know, the road of ups and downs and challenges, which I'm sure every single person is or has at some point, you're there to support them. You can give them that advice, that guidance, whether it's around nervous system, whether it's around their mindset, their energy, or around strategy, of course, as well. I just think it's incredible. And you're such a great example of someone that has quite simply created such a phenomenal community that really does trust you and they feel safe. That's key. That is absolute key. For anyone listening, if you want to learn about how to build communities, Alison is your lady. Do you know what? It's been a pleasure talking to you about this topic. And I know we could dive into so much more, but I'd like to finish off by asking you, what would the final piece of advice be for our listeners today?
Tune into your body.
Mm.
Your body will tell you everything you need to know. If you are feeling nervous and settled, something's holding you back, there's a reason. And we are taught from a really young age to override what our body is telling us. But, there's a reason why they call your gut the second brain, because it's telling you what you need to know. And we are so rooted in logic in our society, but as the story I shared before about like going to these events and everything, it didn't necessarily on paper make sense, but that's what catapulted everything in my business and changed so much. So listen to what your body's telling you, and really just spend a couple of minutes every day going, how do I feel? How do I feel right now? Do I feel relaxed? Do I feel tense? Where is the tension? Where's it coming from? Because I'm so in tune now with my body. As soon as anything comes up, I'm like, ooh, what's this telling me? Let's dive into this. And I can make shifts so quickly based on that now. But when you ignore it, that's when you push yourself out of alignment. And that's when you're starting to make decisions from fear that don't serve you.
Amazing. Some really, really great advice. And I really do appreciate you coming onto the podcast today, Alison. Where can our listeners find you and connect with you?
So the best place is Facebook. I'm a Facebook girl, showing my age there. So yeah, come and search me out, Alison Dee. I am on Instagram under I am Alison Dee as well. And all my links are there on my bio. So yeah, feel free to come and connect. Would love to hear from you.
And all of information about Alison and her links are in the show notes. So go and connect with her, say hello. Alison, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you very much for having me. I've loved talking about this.
Thanks to everyone that's tuned in to today's episode. Please don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, and follow to the podcast. And I will see you all again next time. Thank you for tuning in to the Actually I Can Female Entrepreneur podcast with me, your host, Kaylee Greenacre. If you are ready to build, grow, and scale your dream six-figure or multi-six-figure business, then head to our website now for more information or connect with me on socials to see how you can create your dream business and dream life.